welcome back. I'm going to start going down the rabbit hole of dating Swiss Army knives. And this may help you as it's helped me in buying knives off of eBay or other auction sites of that nature. Now, all this information can be found on the Swiss Army Knife wiki page, and then there's a specific 91mm tool evolution web page that has several different write-ups that helps to narrow some of this stuff down. Now keep in mind, none of these dates are hard set. There's always going to be a range. There's always going to be a transition period. What I mean by may help you from the outside, meaning you don't know what the knife is or you don't know how to date it. And I don't know why this is, but on a lot of auction sites, people will post a picture of, I don't know, a knife or a gun or something for sale, and they'll take 20 pictures of it. But for example, like on a gun, they'll take 20 pictures of the gun and none of them are of the bore or with the action open. Or what I've ran into with Swiss Army knives is they'll take a picture of the knife from the outside like this and never open the tools. Now some knives it's very easy to tell the date or a generalized idea of what model it is, but if you're looking for a specific date range of knife or a certain model and the seller doesn't have a clue, the least they could do is open the knife up. But I digress. Okay, so quick and dirty and simple is Swiss Army knives with a bell in 91mm configuration are pre-1968. If you get a Swiss Army knife and you can see from the outside that the key ring is on the same side as the corkscrew or the screwdriver, depending on the model. If it's on the side, on the layer with the corkscrew or the screwdriver, that is a post-1968, pre-1991 knife. And then after 1991, you'll notice it's on the reamer all layer. There are a few other indications from the outside. Keep in mind this one can be easily changed out. But prior to 1978, you had aluminum tip tweezers. After 1978, after the transition period, you have plastic tip tweezers. You get into corkscrews. For example, prior to 1975, the corkscrew was a 5-turn fluted corkscrew. Now say prior to 1975, however, in 1973 they started the transition to the 4-turn fluted corkscrew. So from 1973-ish until 1991, you had 4-turn fluted corkscrews. After 1991, you have a 4-turn solid corkscrew. Okay. When you get into screwdrivers, anything that's square, like this one, and again it kind of sticks out, anything that's square like this from the outside is at least a pre-1986. Now there's several other designs of these where they have a file, a can key, that kind of stuff, but if you see that style of screwdriver, it's pre-1986, because in 1986 we went to the rounded one. Okay. If you have a Swiss Army knife that you're looking at and you can see this postal hook, that's a post 1991 knife, because the postal hook didn't become an option until 1991. if it has a nail file on the back right here, then that knife is a 1998 or a later model, and that file isn't on every model. Okay. Now when you talk about awls, for example, any knife that has any kind of a awl like this is after 1961. And this is not a good example, but this is what I have. Because prior to 1961, they had a really long awl like this, which is similar to the ones you will find on, like the Pioneer, for example, that we looked at. So there's a quick and dirty from the outside, and I'll stop this portion of the video here, and I'll start making little segments of how to date off of the tool set and their evolution. So I'll be right back. Okay, so let's start trying to narrow down some dates with the opening layer. This will include the can opener and cap lifter. Now, the information that I have found on the 91mm tool evolution page, and most of the information I've been able to figure out on the SAC Wiki page, mostly pertains to Victorinox knives. There's 3 different companies that I know of. There may have been a 4th, I'm not sure, but I know Victorinox, Winger, and one that starts with an E, I don't remember the name of it, that made Swiss Army knives. But either way, this will serve for our purposes. So this is a Winger knife. So if you look at the can opener here, from 1891 to 1946, your can opener had a shape similar to that. It stands out because it drops down into the scale and has a little protrusion. Now, prior to 1942, there was no cap lifter. It was just a screwdriver. But from 1891 to 1946, can opener looks like that. And then from 1946 to 1951, can opener changed. It combined this can opener basically with the can openers that we're familiar with today. And I don't have an example here to show of that, so I'm going to use this Winger, but to give you a general idea that it will be something similar to that. And it will have the Swiss Pat logo on it, or tang stamp. This does not. Again, Winger. And then from 1951 until 1980, you get something that looks a little more familiar if you've just recently bought your first Swiss Army knife and it was new. So it looks like that, except take note of the Swiss Pat logo. Now, sometime after 1980, they did away with the Swiss Pat logo. It's the same type of can opener with the precision screwdriver up there, but no Swiss Pat logo. Okay, now when we get into cap lifters, we get a few evolutionary type items. Again, this does not have a cap lifter. Prior to 1942, this knife was made in 1933. I'm going to look at this Winger real fast. That'll serve for us. So from 1942 to 1951, the cap lifter looks similar to that. It's obviously a little different because this is a Winger, but the basic design was there. Okay. From 1951 to 1980, you get a little bit longer cap lifter, and it does have the wire stripper, and it has the wire bender. So from 51 to 80, wire stripper, wire bender, and the same basic design. It's a little bit longer than what we're used to today. In 1980 and up till about 1985, an easy way to date these is, again, you have your cap lifter, wire bender, hollow ground screwdriver, but you'll notice there's no wire stripper. See what I'm talking about? So you don't have that sharpened edge in there. So that was dropped in about 1980. And then in 1985, we get the addition of the 90-degree stop. So it will have a distinctive 90-degree stop. Prior to 1985, obviously the transition period notwithstanding, there's no 90-degree stop. So that's how to narrow your knife down using the corkscrew, keychain or bell, and the opening layer. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.